Hi and welcome to Programming Percy. Today we'll be talking about Fleet, which is JetBrains' new product, and it's the next generation IDE that they have been building. I've been waiting a long time for JetBrains to release this product. I read about it like a year ago and I was super psyched. Quite frankly, I've always found JetBrains to have the most powerful products amongst all competitors, and there's a good reason why they have such a high price for their products. They're really premium. Now, they might be too expensive for startups and stuff. They are really kind of expensive. But we all know that an IDE is one of the developer's most important tooling. It's the place where we spend most of our time. It's where we code. It's just such an important tool to really feel comfortable. Now, I'm a frequent Go developer myself, and Goland, which is their JetBrains IntelliJ product, has always struck me as super powerful, really fast to implement new features, and just really amazing. But I'm going to be honest, do I use Goland in my daily work? I don't. I do have a license provided by my gracious employer, but I just can't stand using Goland. Wow, the UI is so old and ugly, and it's confusing, and everything's hidden behind so many menus, and there's buttons everywhere, and it's never felt comfortable using it. It wasn't as easy as, for example, Visual Studio Code, which it just was resonated better with me. But I've been super excited about Fleet because they said it themselves when they announced Fleet that it's basically their powerful products and their IntelliJ stuff and engines combined with a much nicer UI. Because we all know the UI in the old products, it sucks. Now, we have to remember this product is still not finished. It's in closed beta. It's been in closed beta for a while, but they have recently released a public preview. So everyone can download this. You can visit this link, and I'll put it in the description, and you can download it yourself to start playing around with. And if you go to download, you can see it supports Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And what happens if you download it is you need to download something called Toolbox, which is JetBrains' product for managing their software. You can find all the IntelliJ products and stuff here, and also Fleet, which now is available. So once you install that, you should see Fleet pop up in this software, and you can open Fleet up, and you're going to be faced with this splash screen. So this is what the new UI looks like, and you can see a few things appear from the get-go. We can clone from a Git repository, and we can connect to Space. Space is IntelliJ's new kind of cloud software development platform. You can have your pipelines, package management, IDEs, your cloud environment. So basically, you have a new developer, they just visit this link, and it's boom, they connect to cloud, they can start working, they have a environment set up for them. You can also connect to through SSH to a remote server to work on, and you can use Docker. And I'm pretty sure if you're using Windows, you will see VSL listed as an alternative here also. Now, this is really nice to have from the get-go. When I use VS Code, I sometimes have to use a remote extension to allow me to connect to either VSL, Docker, or SSH. So it's really nice that this is just a default feature in the program. And we can also see something called collaboration. We will have a look at this in a while. I think we should start off with cloning a Git repository. So I have a small code base. It's a WebSocket API. I'm just going to clone that so we can start working with something. And we can see, we can select a location for it. And let's do, what are we calling it? Fleet. We can create a new folder here named Fleet. It's really nice that we are allowed to specify where we clone it. Let's clone it here. And the next thing we see is that it has opened up the repository for us and cloned it to my computer. So we have the files listed here, and we can go ahead and open up a file. And this is interesting because there's basically no code highlighting. So this is very interesting. Do we need to enable something? Smart mode, let's see. Smart code analyzes and provides completion, error detection, fixes, and refactoring. Enable if you trust the source code. Okay, I trust this code, so let's enable it. It's kind of weird that we have to enable that by default, but since that sounds kind of like the default features that you want from an IDE, I suppose it can be nice to deactivate it if you have this giant code base and you don't want to run like a ton of CPU to just take a quick look in some small pieces. But this is something you will most definitely want to activate. And we have it activated. So let's go ahead and take a look what happened when we activated it. We now have syntax highlighting, and it actually understands our code a lot better. So that's nice. And this thing here is really cool. We can actually see the usage of the struct. So it's kind of find all references sort of thing. And we can see the files it's appearing in, and we can also sneak peek the code. So we can take a peek at the code where it's being used without switching the file. We can even scroll here. Okay, so this is an amazing feature. We can peek where our code is being used to easily find it, to understand. Maybe if you're doing a big refactor or something, you kind of want to understand the context of the, or if it's even not even used at all. So that's kind of a cool feature. One thing I've always loved about IntelliJ is that all of their products have this really cool go-to search, which I've always been kind of jealous of that I don't have access to in this code. So let's go ahead. I think if it's the same shortcut as, yeah, it is. So by pressing Control K, we can open up the go-to. And this one is really cool. I'm searching for a structure named retention map. So we can free text search here, retention map. And we can actually see all the files that has a mention of retention map, and we can also sneak peek at the code. And wow, even the sneak peek has support for code, understanding code and syntax highlighting, and this is a really cool feature. So it makes traversing and finding stuff inside of your code base really trivial. And of course, we can double click here to jump to that file. Wow, that's that's amazing. That's an amazing feature. That's a lot more smooth than the search I'm used to in VS Code. So the file we have here is called OTP because it's a one-time password solution that I've built. It's a really stupid, simple implementation. It has a map which contains the key value to a one-time password. And whenever a new one-time password is used, it will be deleted, so it can't be reused. And there's also a timer which runs, and whenever this timer hits, it's gone too long, it will actually delete the one-time password. So it's only valid for a certain amount of time. Now, let's write some code and test things. I want to implement a new interface, and I want it to be called the verifier interface. And basically, it will be this function signature here, verify OTP, which I want to be an interface. I want us to be allowed to pass in different kind of verifiers to verify the OTP if it's from different sources and stuff. This is just all made up. You have to try writing some code. So let's try type verifier. We want it to be an interface, and it's just an interface for us. So if I press enter, it will generate small pieces of code for me. Let's see if we can write verify OTP, and we want it to take in a string and output a bool. suppose. Yeah. All right. So the code recommendations there was kind of true. At least it helped us generate something. Again, we can see this really cool thing here, one implementation. And if we press it, we will be pushed to retention map. So that is actually really cool. If you have a code base with a lot of interfaces, it will help you identify what kind of structures actually implement that interface. And we can see here also one super. I suppose this is the verifier. Yeah. Let's see what it complains about. Unused type verifier. Oh. That's why is it unused? Okay. So that's actually very nice. The one super here means that we can navigate and find the opposite way. So we can go from finding all the implementations of verifier here, but we can also find all the interfaces that retention map fulfills by using the super. So that's really cool. We can easily navigate and find interface usages in the code base, at least in Go. So that's really cool. That's something I kind of miss. So let's go ahead and write some code for the verify ODP. And debugging is a major part in writing code, and I think everybody should debug and write unit tests. So let's go ahead and write some unit tests to kind of see what the IDE can do for us. So let's go ahead and jump to the OTP_test file. We want to write a new unit test this. And so the implementation of the current code is really simple. It creates a one-time password, it starts a timer, it removes it after the time has passed. So let's just write a simple unit test that can test this. Let's go ahead, test ODP. And when I do this, it actually recommends me. You can see here, it recommends me to name it retention map, which is the idiomatic Go way of naming the unit test, because we're testing a function for related to retention map. So this is actually pretty cool that it can recommend me the correct idiomatic way of doing it. So if we click that, it generates the unit test for us. So that's actually really nice. Let's go ahead and create something really simple here. We will create a context. We will need a context, and we want to have a context which we can cancel with cancel. And it's pretty nice, this whole that it recommends. Let me show you. We create a new retention map. It suggests the function, which is pretty default, but it also shows us the input parameters, which is nice. So we can click that. We know that the context should go inside of it, and let's say 1 second should pass. After 1 second, it will delete the OTP. And here we can see it warns us you haven't called cancel. It's not a good thing. So in the end, let's call cancel just for fun. I mean, we could probably defer that, but for now, let's leave it. So we want to create a new OTP, one-time password. Oh, sorry. We want to create a new one-time password, and we can do that with the retention map. So it creates one, and we want to verify this. If we call the verify function on that, if the boolean from verify ODP, and ODP, we can grab the key value, and if it isn't okay, we should have an error. I like the code suggestions here. I'm used to VS Code, and it suggests which functions you can call. However, VS Code doesn't really show you the input parameters, which this kind of does. It shows you the input parameter here, like in error, you should pass a string and then the args, which seems pretty, reasonable. I like that. So if we get the wrong value, we want to say We can just do a simple error for now. Fail, fail to validate, and that was very nice. So we should get here without any trouble. Alright, let's copy this. The second time we verify it, fail to remove on all, ready, validated, OTP. So we create a new retention map, we create a new one-time secret, we verify it, it should work. The next time we verify it, it should fail. Pretty common, straightforward. And we can see here that Fleet has built-in support for running unit tests, at least for Go. So we can run it, and when we do, we get the output here. This is all very, very, very similar to how Visual Studio Code does it. So one thing that's usually really nice with the IntelliJ product is their debugger. So let's go ahead and try to debug. Let's set a breakpoint and debug. And we get an error. The child process failed to execute local blah 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 delve. Permission denied. Permission denied to execute a file. We can't execute the delve. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that when you install Fleet currently, it might be that, let's do an ls. It might be that it installs the delve binary with the wrong permissions, I suppose. Yeah, there's no execute permissions on the binary. Again, let's remember that this is still a preview. It is expected to have bugs. So I'm gonna add execute permissions to delve, and let us see if we can debug now. Oh yeah, now it works. Amazing. I'm happy that such an easy fix. So let's see what we see. We can see the process where we have the breakpoints, which is straightforward. And this is actually pretty nice. We can see all the current Go routines that are running. And I suppose we can open it up and see the state of the Go routine. And whenever you click these items here, we can peek inside the process and take a look at the variable values for whatever is going on currently, and that's pretty good. So I wonder, can you really see all the Go routines in Visual Studio Code? I'm not sure. This is actually really interesting. I have to verify that later, but this is a nice feature, and let's step over. Let's go a bit into the file and see what happens. You can see we have the RM here. This is the retention map. We have the OTP key here. We can view the values. And one thing that this does very nicely is in VS Code, the values kind of gets mumbled, especially if you have nested stuff. I think it's hard to find actual values. This actually makes it pretty simple to see what's going on. It displays the data types, the values. I kind of like this debugger a lot more than Visual Studio Code, to be honest. Sorry if I'm comparing to Visual Studio Code. I'm so used to using it. It's kind of natural to me to compare it. But this is how you debug. You can step forward, and we can step into, and of course step out to. The regular debugger stuff, we can try stepping into. We're inside the function. We can see the current scope here, what's going on, and whatever is happening. So, and it failed to validate as we expected. It should fail to validate, or should it? Verify OTP key if. So the unit test fails because we have a slight bug. It's because it actually breaks at the start of the function, which makes the retention map delete the OTP before I have the time to validate it. It's kind of a bad thing. So we have kind of a race. Let's fix it by now by increasing the timer because we simply want to debug stuff, not implement the correct solution. So now if we move on here, we can move into it, see what happened. Kind of now it works as expected, and we will have a pass basically. So the debugger is really kind of nice. It's a bit weird that it breaks at the start of the function, but whatever. So regarding the bug with the permission for the binary, for the del binary, I should say that they do maintain a U track. I will put a link in the description for that as well. U track is used to find bugs in software. It's an issue reporter, so you can report any issues you find with the preview. And I've made an issue for this bug that we actually found right now, because we want to help them to make this product better because it has big potential, right? So one really important thing in IDEs is that it should help us integrate with our version control system. So it's Git or SVN, whatever you use. Basically everybody does Git, right? I think. But right now, let's explore how version controlling works in Fleet. So I've noticed that we get these blue things popping up everywhere because we changed the code. So this is the version control. We can see here each file that's been changed, and they also appear here as blue. And we can see inside, can we see anything more regarding this? Yeah, you have this green bar here. This green bar can highlight the changes that have been made inside the code. So this is nice, and we can do it to find whatever stuff we have implemented. You see here, it's a green bar. We added the verifier implementation. So it helps us with version controls. First, it highlights the files with a blue text and a blue dot to recognize there's a change inside of it. And inside of it, we can see the green bar to see all the changes. Let me try a thing. Let me introduce a stuff like that. And it's going to be a red bar instead, as expected. A red bar showing the changes, and we can revert them. So that's great. And we also have a Git tab here where we can see the branches on changes, and we can also see the files that we have. We can open it up and again see the changes and compare them. So that's actually really nice. A really nice preview of the changes for the versioning. So that's something I really like. Let's not push this to master. Let's create a new branch. So up here we see all the branches. We can create a new branch. Let me say that this is it's a new feature. It's a unit test branch. And we can see a small pop-up. Looks a little bit weird, but it successfully created the branch. And at the top here, we see that we're now working on this branch instead. So let's check these files and make a commit. So add unit test. Let's commit it. And we have made it. And we can probably view in the history. So this is really nice. We can see the whole history for the repository. We can click each commit and we can see the changes. This is pretty neat, and it will make understanding what's going on with the repository a lot easier. I like these kind of visualizations, and we can easily see what changed in each file, and that's really, really cool. So I guess we have only committed this. We kind of need to sync it as well. There's no changes being shown, but let's try. Do you want to sync this with origin? Yes, we do. It will ask us to log into GitHub and generate a token. And there's even a link which will bring you to GitHub. Let me just show you guys how it looks. I have to authenticate. So it will actually pre-fill everything for you to generate your token. And you can generate it down here. You can copy it, and you can go back to Fleet and paste it. And there is a fail to sync. So for some reason, there's no tracking information for the current. Okay, so it seems to be a few quirks left with this. But let's go ahead and just imagine that that will work, I suppose, in the future. Again, it's a preview. The whole working with the versioning control, though, seems really nice. I mean, if the sync even works or the push, you can't put just a simple push. Can we do that? Let's do a action and let's do push, git push. Do you want to push? Let's push it. So that also fails. There seems to be some. Your current commit is behind. We're behind somehow. Let's do a git pull. Okay, something is weird, probably with the new branch we created for some reason. But again, that will be really cool whenever it works properly. I like the whole UI at least, showing the history for us and whatever is going on and the changes. So that will be pretty sleek whenever it works. So one thing I was doing when I was checking why we fail is use an action. Actions are kind of these macros that you can use, and actions are very common to use to do certain things. So basically, when I want to do a git push, for instance, you can easily do that by either searching for the action. So you can do Control-Shift-K to bring up this menu, and you can search for any git stuff you want to do. Pull, fetch, there's a bunch of other things you can do, and you learn what actions exist as you go, I suppose. I think most of them kinda exist in the previous IntelliJ software as well. And one thing I kind of want to look into is using something called a run configuration. So as you saw in the unit test before, we can run our software here, and it's great. But whenever you want to run your application, you can't do that by pressing a play. So we have to find a way to run our application, and one thing you can do that is using a action to generate something called a run configuration. So Control-Shift-K brings up this menu, and we can search for run, and we can see here it actually suggests create run configuration. So if we press that, we will get this kind of step-by-step wizard, it seems. It suggests some commands here, so it's a go thing we want to do. It says it's a go, the name for it, let's call it run server, and the go exec path, which would probably be the path to go. So which go? And let's take the binary path to go. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Build targets, we're not building for any particular target. And this is the place, like when we're running our server, maybe we want to use environment variables, etc. And the reason why you want to run your software using this instead is because it will accept breakpoints and stuff that you add. So let's go ahead and do log print line inside of main and OS get env and my environment variable. And let's just add a nicer output. My value is, so let's see, unresolved reference doesn't actually find OS. So let's import that manually. So what this does, it will print whatever value that the environment variable myEnv has. So what we should be able to do inside the run configuration is that we should be able to, let's see, what have we got? Well, we have environment, and this is probably the same syntax as the other IntelliJs. So my secret or whatever value. So this should allow us to start the main program and applying these environment variables when we run it. So we should probably try it out. And I think in the other, let's see, run. Okay, we can press here to bring up the run command, or we can use, what was it? Control R. Control R brings up this run and debug. And inside here, this is nice. We see the unit tests. We can run the unit tests. And we can also do run server, which of course is the thing we configured in the run JSON. So let's go ahead and run it. And we see my value is, and again, this is another bug. I will create an issue for this as well. The value isn't actually accepted, so that's something they will have to work out. Again, this is a preview of the product. This is not a complete version of the product. Let's not be too harsh on them. This is actually pretty nice, though. You can have a ton of these. You can have multiple of these stuff. You can say run server HTTP if we want to skip. As you can see, we have no certificate. We can't run HTTPS. But if I was to want to debug it, maybe we can run without HTTPS for local development. And we can have these settings to run in different kind of ways, and it's really nice. And this is also nice. We can see that the last execution of run actually has failed. So I think we should explore one other feature that I've been reading about that we should have a look at, because it seems really nice, and it's the built-in ability to collaborate, which is one of the major selling points of Fleet, I think. They have made it very easy to collaborate with your colleagues and friends, and I'm going to confess I have seen this done before, so at this point I actually know what I'm doing. So we can click here for collaboration, and we can see collaborations. We can start a session and we can join a session. So let's start a session on my computer, and it has copy the link, provide full access to your workspace, send the link to people you trust. So actually, I only ever trust yourself. So I'm gonna send a link to myself, to my other computer, which I have next to me here. And I'm gonna open that up, and I'm gonna open the link on that computer, and let's see what happens. I have Fleet pre-installed, so whenever I click the link, sorry I can't show you guys this. Whenever I click the link, it will basically bring up Fleet with the session initialized. You can see here now, my other computer has loaded, and it says we have a request to join and some kind of connection code, which I can also see on my other screen here on the remote computer. I can see the connection code, so you can kind of call me and say, hey, is this the correct code? Because that's me. And you can say, yeah, I'm gonna approve full access. So right now you can see here, user pops up, and that's my other computer. We're now working on the same code base. And if I go into main, let's see. And so this, on my other computer, it actually looks exactly the same. You won't be able to see this. I'm just gonna sit here with my other computer. So now I'm on my other computer. And whenever I type something here, it's going to be live on my screen, as you can see. There is a bug here with the env not being inserted into the runtime of the binary. So we can see live what's going on, and further, I can even switch files here and start working on another file, but it doesn't change the open file on the main host. So we can actually work on the whole code base together without interrupting each other, but still helping each other. New comment. You can see here, all of a sudden manager popped up, a change in manager happened. I can go here and I can see user has typed a new comment, and I can remove it because why are you doing stuff over there? And one thing that's kind of cool is since we can run or code in different files at the same time and collaborate, which is super cool. But if I want to see whatever user is doing, because when he wrote that comment, I find he's kind of weird, so I want to see what he's doing. I can click his profile up here, and it will actually bring me to the file where he's currently has his cursor, what he's doing right now. And he's wrote here, so let us remove that. Again, he's doing weird stuff, and let's save that file. So that is cool. We can work on the same file actively and see what we're doing live, and it's just really cool. One other really cool thing is I'm gonna execute the server from this computer right now. So if I close down here you can see the actions that has been ran. So I'm gonna close them. There's no action running right now. And from this computer, I'm gonna start the server on my host computer here. So you can see it's still the same issue, but I can see that he tried to open and run the application. I'm gonna shut that computer down. There's no need for it anymore. But this collaboration is really smooth. I'm surprised. It works really well. I know there are plugins for Visual Studio Code that kind of does the same thing. What I didn't like about them was that we were stuck to the same kind of we had, if I opened a window, if I open a new file, it would open for both and stuff like that. But this kind of seems seamless. We work at the same time in the same code base, and we can just simply see what the other one is doing in live. So this kind of concludes currently the preview that we're going to have for now in this video. I'm going to be honest, I'm really impressed with the debugger. I like the looks of it. I like the way they have structured the data. I like how I can see the GUI routines and what they're doing. That during the cuts here, I actually had to go back to VS Code and start a debugger to see if I can see the GUI routines there. And you actually can. I just haven't ever noticed it because it was kind of hidden behind this collapsed small menu. But that's really a feature that is amazing. Furthermore, the built-in collaboration session is really, really amazing. I mean, I can really see me and my team working together on the same file, solving some kind of issue where we kind of have these central workplace that we work on. And it's really cool. Also, coding together makes it a lot more fun. And I don't see how you would distract each other because it was like if you work with Google Docs or whatever, it's pretty much the same thing. It's really cool. So will I make a switch to Fleet? Well, obviously not right now. It's still a preview. We found 2 bugs today. Both have been reported. Let's see if they fix them. They probably will pretty fast. They seem to be really active in there. But furthermore, there are some features that haven't been released yet that we will need to see before we make a switch. Basically, plugins will arrive, and plugins will be allowing developers to create extensions so that we can customize the editor to whatever flavor we want it and have it in our way. And if we want support for some features that doesn't exist, so we can add that. So if you've ever used Visual Studio Code, you are familiar with how these extensions will work. Probably it will be the same, I suppose. So I will let Fleet mature a little bit before trying it full time, but I do like parts of it. I do love how it has the full power of the IntelliJ products behind it, the strong engines, and basically everything that I have disliked with Goland is kind of fixed in Fleet. So yeah, there is that. Uh, I'm gonna be honest though, it is kind of like they gave up and just ripped off Visual Studio Code. It looks 95% exactly the same and works exactly the same as Visual Studio Code. So it's basically a rip-off. But hey, what if we have this nice UI, customizable, extendable, really easy to navigate, really easy to see what's going on, not a lot of buttons everywhere, but I mean, but still have the power of IntelliJ products. I mean, that if they bring this and fix all the bugs and stuff, I really see this as the next generation IDE for sure. That's about it for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and I hope you liked what you saw. And please leave feedback, leave comments, and what do you think? Have you tried it? Will you try it? And what's your opinion, basically? And I would love to just hear from you guys, whatever you think about it and what you will do. Like, will you try it in your work? And or if you have tried it, what did you feel about it? And I will see you guys around. Bye.